Kusile and welcome to the show. Sabangkuthi Nikete Kuvuganati, Lamhla Ekseni, and we do hope you had a beautiful weekend. Good morning. It is a Monday morning, the 22nd of January 2024. And Fuselago, Ngulungele Makakula. Thank you for joining us this morning with my co-host Umguni. Shumanakbil, how are you this morning?
I had a great weekend, by the way. Cup, the biggest football tournament. When Linda Master join us on the show this morning. But a lot of exciting developments around the world of football. The Africa Cup of Nations, now it's going at a very, very beautiful pace. A lot of disappointments. And Mohamed Salah perform at their level best. In fact, one of my good friends made an interesting analogy. Now, your Africa Cup of Nations, you take the best of the best players from the English Premier League and perhaps for Spain. Even the nutritional, menus and diets. That humbles them, and we have been seeing that a lot of people that we didn't even know. We do want to have that conversation later on the show, from Ngwenyama Cup to the Africa Cup of Nations, as well as the English Premier League, when Linda Master joins us in the program.
Yeah. Going to get before 7 at 6:30, we'll be joined by the Chief Roads Engineer from the Ministry of Public Works and Transport. Dakumlawuthi uhulumeni soluyaqhubeka nama-projects akhe ekulungisa imigwaqo kanye nekwakha kabusha leminye igwaqo sithabe nje sikhuluma kabanti ngama-projects la 5 lokufaka ekhathi the rehabilitation of the Mhlaleni Mahamba Road kanye ne-construction of Ngwenyeni Bridge and the construction of Ngwenyeni Dweleni Power Feeder Road, as well as the construction of Mncweba River Crossing Kazandondo. Siphinze sibuke kabanzi nje ne-rehabilitation of Imbaga Road over rail bridge kanye nekulimala komgwaqo lapha engonini. Sizabe sinaye nje lapha Vincent Dlamini kuchazela ukuthi uhamba kanjani lo msebenzi nekuva ukuthi ngabe ithini progress ye-fund lesomiswa nguhulumende ekuzama kulungisa yona imigwaqo yeliva, ngoba ukuthi vele leminingi yayo imigwaqo ilimele kakhulu kuleti mvula letisolo dichuba sihambe sinaye at 6:30.
Ngifota kakhulu mina lungelele ngoba uqala ngayo lo MR9 nje ngumuntu waseshiselweni umgwaqo lengusebenzisa njalo njalo nasiya kuyoba kusela ekhaya. Bonke sasibuke emaphephandaba yelive ukuthi ngabe ngidiphi indzaba lethamba embili lomhla ekseni.
All right, so let's look at times of Eswatini. As Reverend Makongo served God and church with love. Itombakele tate mngcwabo wakhe beqhubeke kule mpelasomfo lesisuka kuyo. Kuletinye thamba imbili, Youth Fund launches probe into tenders and loans. Board suspects underhand tactics in granting of some contracts between 2018 and 2023. Kuletinye thamba imbili, 30 million emalangeni dialogue budget was used for Sibaya. Snat, schools are not ready, 4,000 posts are still vacant. Government loses about 240 hours of service delivery yearly.
Midlalo, Wesleyans have been denied 75,000 emalangeni by Madlenya in a dramatic Ngwenyama Cup last 16 clash skirmish as Minos host Maroon and White outfit 7-6 after sudden death penalties. Game pelele kuma penalties lapho khona Wesleyans ibese idliwa ngiyo iMadlenya. Another one sibona coach Dominic lokuthiwa his days for now after the Eswatini Football Association retreat. A final decision on under fire Sihlangu coach Dominic Kunene is pending. Another story speaks to the Africa Cup of Nations, where Dakar rescues draw for 10 men. Chipolopo, Zambia and Tanzania draw 1-1. The Leicester City striker Patsin Dakar has rescued a late draw for 10 men Zambia against Tanzania at the Stade Lorey Poku Stadium. Times of Eswatini.
As for Eswatini Observer, Nomohla, Buleti Hamba and Lili, hundreds at Reverend Makongo's funeral. Ngabakhe ke wendeke kulemba somvele siwakiyo kuletinye lethama embili don't open schools parents back ngisho kwaSnath. Parents SNAT to visit Education Ministry on demands. More on that story on pages 2 and 3. Kuletinye lethamba embili Master's Office probe smoke screen. Ngelinye lihamba embili partnerships on security politics are vital kunye Prime Minister.
Kutemidlalo, it's still Madlenya who have spoiled Wanderers party, making the leading story there, where Manzini Wanderers football gods seem to have gone back to their slumber again after Giant Slayers Madlenya advanced to the quarterfinals of the SMV AF in Gwenyama Cup as they annihilated the desperate Wesleyans via the sudden death penalties at Mavuso Sports Center esukwini Laitolo. Kubena leminye imidlalo lebekhona ingonyama cup lenemiphumela yawo lekulapha kuma headlines. Another one, 10-man Chipolopo denied Taifa Stars first AFCON win. And yeah, that's about it. Those two headlines are the leading headlines Temidlalo Observer.
Leading headlines on the Eswatini Daily News. Eswatini pushes for global solidarity, green growth at NAM and G77 summits. Kulenyele hamba embili lihle leMaswati Foundation invest 4 million amalangeni in Eswatini's children's future. Kanti kuletinye lethamba embili on page 3, Ministry of Natural Resources aims to boost economy through mining.
Yeah. Kutemidlalo ku Eswatini Daily News. The leading story, Wanderers bite the dust as they have been booted out of the Ngwenyama Cup after losing 7-6 on penalties to Madlenya FC on Sunday emdlalweni odlalelwe eMavuso Sports Center. Bull in Ngwenyama Cup last 8 is another story. Kanzike yekugcina essays to places new UFC middleweight champion. Those are the leading headlines this Monday morning. Maphephandabeni elive sibahlele market sibuya sibuka indzabate siswati.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eveni.
Ngephansi kwalomgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba letentiya ngaleso sikhatsi tindzaba letide emagama lacosheme letitsembekile letitsinza tonke tinhlangothi naletisebaleni
kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo netemhlaba wonke jikelele siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhatsi letenteka ngaso.
Kanzi kulomsakato siphindze sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letichamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba lowutiletselwa ngumsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV.
Bongosa siphindze sinamukele ehlelweni sethabele nadi tindzaba tesiswati. Mengameli welive le-Uganda Yoweri Museveni uthi inhlangano ye-G77 plus China itawucinisa tinhlelo tekutfutfukisa tekulima tekukhicita kanye netebuchwephesha kulesikhatsi lapho khona live le-Uganda lingusihlalo walenhlangano. Museveni ukuvete lokhu ngemuva kwekutsatsa sihlalo sekuba ngusihlalo wenhlangano ye-G77 plus China kumengameli welive le-Cuba. Kulomhlangano lobanjelwe enhlokodolobha yelive le-Uganda eKampala silosimelelwe nguNankulu umhlonishwa Russell Dlamini.
Ngeminyaka wa-1964 emave langemashumi lasikhombisa lasathuthuka ahlangana aqala-ke inhlangano lekuthiwa i-G77 ngenhloso yekukhuluma tindzaba tawo ngalevilinye. Live le-China-ke lasithokotela lesendo lasekele wabambisa lamave tinhlelweni tawo tentuthuko kepha-ke lona live le-China alisilo lilunga lalenhlangano. Namuhla lenhlangano seyikhulile njengoba inemalunga langetulu kwelikhulu nemashumi lamatsathu kufaka ekhatsi nelive laseSwatini. Lenhlangano ibambeke umhlangano wayo wesithathu lapha enhlokodolobha yelive le-Uganda iKampala. Kulomhlangano ngonyama yemhlaba inkosi Mswati wesithathu emelelwe ngumhlonishwa Ndvunankhulu Russell Dlamini. Lo mhlangano uvulwe ngalokusemthethweni lisekela lamengameli welive leCuba umhlonishwa Salvador Valdesa Mesa lekungusihlalo wayoke lenhlangano. Mesa uchazile ukuthi lenhlangano solo itibophelele ekuhlonipheni yonke imigomo yakamhlaba kanye nemthetho wamhlabuhlangene kanye nekuhlonipha kutibusa kwelive ngalinye emhlabeni, ukuhlonipha imincele yemave kanye nekuthi onke amave ayalingana emehlweni amhlabuhlangene. Mesa ukubeke ngembaba ukuthi kude intuthuko lengaba khona ngaphandle kwekuthula, wasi lenhlangano yaqhubeka nekugcugcutela emave ukuthi abe nebudlelwane lobuhle ngokuhambisana nemthetho wakamhlaba. Salvador Mesa uthi lenhlangano yaqhubeka nekuma kanye nekuvelana nebantu basePalestine kulokuhlaselwa live laka-Israyeli. Uceleke libandla lelibukete kuphepha kamhlabuhlangene ukuthi lento esiqiniseko sekuthi live le-Israyeli liyakubhadalela lokhu lelikwendile eveni lePalestine. Uthi leli bandla lisebenzise United Nations Security Resolution 2334 weminyaka wa 2016 na 2712 wa 2017 kanye Resolution 2720 wa 2023. Mesa ubese wendulisela tinzambo tekuba ngusihlalo walenhlangano kumengameli Yoweri Museveni welive le-Uganda. Museveni enkulumeni yakhe usigcekile isendo selive leMelika sekuhlinya live leCuba kutemnotho into leseyithethe iminyaka lengama-60. Umengameli Museveni utshele emalunga alenhlangano ukuthi kuba munye kwawo ngikona kutawenta ukuthi bakhona ukunqoba tinsayela ababhekene nato letifake ekhatsi kuguquka kwesimo selitulu. Museveni uthi kuyadzabukisa kubona ukuthi umkhasi lokhona emkhatsini kwemave lanjingile nalawo lasathuthuka uya ngekukhula. Lo mengameli uthi emalunga alenhlangano kumele asebenzisane kutata ufeza imigomo yentuthuko lekhonsako ema-SDGs. Mabhalana wamhlabuhlangene Antonio Guterres enkulumeni yakhe uchazile ukuthi kuyabakhatsata ukuthi lizinga lebantu labasha abangasebenzi liyanyuka emaveni lasathuthuka langephansi kwalenhlangano. Guterres uthi imetamo yokucedza buphuya nendlala ibonakala-ke ihamba kancane kumalunga langephansi kwenhlangano ye-G77 plus China. Sivele sikulamave langemalunga alenhlangano sakhala okungama-80 ekhulwini ebantwini labakhona emhlabeni. Lo mhlangano ubheke ukuthi wephethe langeni lakusasa ngemsombuluko. Kanti-ke lo nyaka lenhlangano ye-G77 plus China igubha iminyaka lengama-60 yabakhona. Umbiko uhlanganiswe ngu-LinkedIn Gule. Ngisekhambala hlodolobha ilive le-Uganda.
Kanti-ke silo semhlaba inkosi Mswati wesithathu sesikhutsate emave langephansi kwenhlangano i-G7 plus China ukuthi akhange bahlanyela imali kutata ukhona kwesekela tinhlelo tekucedza buphuya nendlala kanye nekufeza imigomo yakamhlaba yentuthuko lekhonsako leyatiwa ngema-SDG. Ingwenyama iphefumule emhlanganweni wesithathu walenhlangano lobanjelwe edolobheni leKampala eveni le-Uganda. Inkulumo yengwenyama kulo mhlangano yethulwe nguNdvunankhulu umhlonishwa Russell Dlamini. LinkedIn uyabika.
Nakusaqhubeka lo mhlangano umhlonishwa Ndvunankhulu Russell Dlamini ubeseke uyacelwa ukuthi ethule inkulumo yengwenyama inkosi Mswati wesithathu. Ingwenyama ithi live laseSwatini solo liyachubeka nebubona kumcoka balenhlangano i-G77 plus China. Silo sithi emavela ngemalunga alenhlangano kumele-ke abambisane utata ukhona kubhekana netinsayeya labhekene nato. Silo sithi emavela njingile kanye nemavela asathuthuka kumele abambisane asebenzisane futhi uma ngabe umhlaba ufuna uyifeza imigomo yentuthuko yakamhlaba lekhonsako ema-SDGs. Ingwenyama ithi lokho kutawenta ukuthi nembala kube bede umuntu losalela ngaphandle njengekusho kwesicubulo samhlabuhlangene lesithi leave no one behind.
The Kingdom of Eswatini feels that there is need for a stronger commitment and collective responsibility between the South-South as well as the North if we are to ensure that there is truly no one left behind. It is further crucial that developmental issues of common interest, in particular that of mobilizing concessional funding to support our programs, continue to be prioritized. We thus reiterate the importance of designing a financial architecture that will support all countries, especially the least developed countries. As the G77 countries, we will need to continue to attract, embrace, and manage investments that can help stimulate sustainable economic growth and alleviate poverty in our countries. We thus reaffirm the urgency to strengthen global solidarity and international cooperation. Distinguished Chair, the Kingdom of Eswatini remains committed to ensuring that plans are in place to address inclusiveness.
Silo sibeseke sesinxusa emavela ngaphansi kwelenhlangano ukuthi abuye aqhubeke abambane abe munye ukuthi atawukhona kukhanga bahlanyeli imali akhona ke nokuthi acedze indlala nephuya ngonyama ibese seyiniketa mengameli Yoweri Museveni ithologcina ukuthi itawuqhubeka imesekele njengoba angusihlalo wayo iG77 plus China. Silo sithi kuyasithokotisa kubona live lase-Afrika liba ngusihlalo wenhlangano lenkulu kangaka emhlabeni. Etinzabente Eswatini TV ngingidingithi ngigule ngisekhambala even le Uganda.
Litiko letekulima lithi kunemkhuba lobonakala wanza evendo cekela phansi imetamo ekhicita kudla lokwanele. Litiko lithi lona ngumkhuba wamaswati ladlisa imfuyo emabeleni. Umcondzisi wetekulima Nelson Mavuso uthi leli tiko njalo ngeliviki litfola imibiko yamaswati noma ke bomakhelwane labalwe basebenzisa imfuyo leyekelwa iyodla emabele.
Umbiko welibhange lemhlaba iWorld Bank uthi tekulima letikhonsile timcoka entuthukweni imave nasekucedzeni buphuya. Litiko letekulima lithi sukela ngeminyaka wa 2017 libona kukhula kwemibiko yemaswati lathi angaboni ngaso linye bese kuba khona lodlisa imfuyo emabeleni lecekela phansi imetamo yelive ekukhicita kudla lokwanele. Umcondzisi wetekulima Nelson Mavuso uyachaza ngale mibiko.
Lama cases lengikhuluma ngawo nga2017 abe over 30. Ama cases ebantu laba bangimhlaba basebenzise tinkomo, laba bangimhlaba basebenzise kusilomnya hamba udepuna, babangimhlaba lomnyaza hamba ufutha silimo salomunye. That is very dangerous, especially for peace and security yale live. Siyakhuta ngalamakhulu nje magama, siyakhanza lento almost every day esilezi sihambe sofundzisa i-development, agriculture development. Sesibhizi silamu labantu labalwako babanga imihlaba lababanga ukuthi lomunye ulimeleni sivuno sakhe lesihle. Tindzawo leti ngihlupha kakhulu etikweni tindzawo takaho. Speak police station for instance kufake Khatsibonfontein. Kube steak, kube ngimangayane, kube bobhunya. A little bit of eshiselweni. Angati leni siyacela nebakithi kuyasihlupha kakhulu lokho kusebenzisa kabe selithiko.
Lokuxhumanisa umbutho embubeni esive phindile vilakade uvetile ukuthi ikhona imibiko levelako kulombutho ichamuka emimangweni ngemfuyo ledliswa emabeleni. Etinzabente Eswatini TV kubika samkelisiwe khoza ngasimuva Shongwe eMalkens.
Litiko lemisebenti lemikhulu nekutfutsa lifaka tibane temgwaco letinsha edolobheni eMbabane. Ngekusho kwanjinela lomkhulu wemgwaco itiko letemsebenti lemikhulu nekutfutsa Vincent Dlamini injongo ukuthi kusebente tibane tesimanje manje.
Litiko letemsebenti lemkhulu nekutfutsa lisukela umkhankaso wekufaka tibane temgwaco lekema traffic lights lamasha edolobheni lelikhulu eMbabane. Lawa ke lamashango lawo labalako kanti ke kwendelwe ukuthi kubanjwe lizinga. Injiniyela lomkhulu wemgwaco Vincent Dlamini uyenaba ngalomsebenzi.
Njengo yangiloko ukuthi kusetshenziswe traffic lights lasimanje manje kusukwe kulawa bekakhona idolo lapha njena kusebenta lamalambu lasebenzisa loluhlobo labathi ngema LEDs landa ukuthi ke noma ngakunjani noma umshayeli angaphandleki lokuthi abe sangasabona ukuthi selishintshile selinjani. Kwesibili ke aphindze abe ne-timer lokuqala isikhathi kusho ukuthi awulivulile nyalo lelihlata litawuvula ama-seconds langaka bese emva unakaphela lawo ma-seconds kuvula lelinye nalelibovu kanjalo nalo lisho ukuthi oltaba bovu isikhathi lesingaka so that bashayeli batokwati lokho so kunale timer. So ngiloko injongo yakho ngilokuthi kwendele lokuthi kushayela na ufika kulamalambu lawa kube ngilokuphephile naloku predictable noma ke umshayeli athi kutakwendeka ini nini ngakhanzakala ukuthi imoto sesihlangana lapha ekhaya esikweleni kanye ngoba nalo lomunye bekangathi ukuthi litawugucuka nini leli lihlata noma leli libovu. So ngiloko mama lokwendekako ukuthi sesifake lasimanje manje ema traffic lights. Lemsebenzi lona uyingcenye yale street lighting maintenance lesendekako nale conversion yema street light leyendekako batawunaka nje emaswati lokuthi sifaka emasola street lights so kuyingcenye yalomsebenzi lo akusiko mhlambe lokupackage separately.
Dlamini usinako lamanye amadolobha ke batawutifaka letibane temgwaco letinsha kungasiko eMbabane kuphela njengoba bahlose ukuthi cishe onke emadolobha abambe lelo zinga lelifanele nekushayela kube melula kuboke bashayeli. Etindzabeni ngengiyani emsebenzanelisiwe nhlangamandla sisedolobheni eMbabane.
Kukhula kwelinani lebantu labasha labasebenzisa ligwayi kuleli sekwenda litiko letemphilo labuka indlela yokubafundzisa ngebungoti balesidzakamiswa ngelizinga lelisetulu. Umfundzisi wetempilo Stumo Lukhele uthi bakhulumisana natinhlangothi letitsindzekako kubukisana ukuthi kungehliswa kanjani kubhenywa kweligwayi kuleli.
Inhlangano yetempilo kaMhlaba iWorld Health Organization ithi kwehlile kubhenywa kwelugwayi emaveni emhlaba njengoba elicwaningo liveta ukuthi munye kulabasihlanu lokhandzakale abhema lugwayi ngeminyaka wanga-2022 nakucatsaniswa neminyaka wanga-2000 lapho bekamunye kulabathathu. Sikhulumisene nelitiko letempilo kuva ukuthi leSwatini lendani kunciphisa kubhenywa kwelugwayi.
Kunetindledlana letinsha lokhandza ukuthi ikakhulu insha sebabhema ngayo balifakele ligwayi entweni lengazuthi ilishawulo bese balibhica mhlambe nemanti. Ekugcineni kwako konke lokungena emtimbeni kufike engcondweni kufike esibinzini kufike etinsweni kwenta umonakalo. So silive ke sisesigabeni la sihlangana khona sihlanganise tinhlelo letehlukene sibe tempilo kune betemabhizinisi kube nalaba lababuke umnotho even kube nelitiko letemfundo la khona sibuka ngoba ikakhulu njengoba sengishito ukuthi yisha kakhulu lengazuthi isebenzisa lesimo lesikhuluma ngaso setama ke ukuthi kufundziswe kabanti batokhona abantu kubati bungoti bako kubhema ngoba noma ulibuka ngakuluphi ihlangothi ligwayi liyasifaka sandla kumdlavuza liyasifaka sandla ekuphadamisekeni kwengcondo.
Litiko lithi lifise ukuthi lichubeke likhulumisane nato tonke tinhlangothi letitsindzekako kubukisana kwekuthi kunganciphiswa kanjani kusebenziswa kwelugwayi lapha eveni. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Nelisiwe Ndlangamandla nginagiyani Msibi eMbabane.
Libandla leMpolonjeni Alliance eMbabane likhutsata abafundzi kwekuthi basabuyela etikolweni batimisele futhi batigatse bangathelelwa ngilabanye umoya lomubi. Umholi waleli bandla Musa Dlamini unikete lo myalo ngesikhathi leli bandla linenkonzo yekuthandazela abafundzi ke lababuyela esikolweni kuleli viki.
Kulengcenye kukhutsata ke umntwana losekhaya nyalo le mhlambe impilo imfake ekoneni ngenxa yema challenges la khona emhlabeni. Kungaba kwekuthi kwekucala noma ngabe lo mntwana aselapha ekhaya ahlulekile ngoba tingqondo atifanani kodwa noma ahlulekile usengazama futhi impilo isebenta ngema chances. Nakufika lithuba kwendlala elinye akusho kwekuthi lelithuba leselifikile wehluleka kulo kude lenye letawuvela.
Bafundzi bathi kuthandazelwa libandla kubenda bavuseleleke emoyeni futhi kubenda bafise nekutimisela kakhulu.
Sibamphana, we come from different communities and areas with different challenges. So ngemthandazo siba nekuconza ukuthi okay, some things stendeka for a reason and some don't happen for a reason, but ngemthandazo siyanqoba kuko konke.
Nabamhlaba bathi abagcoke emagawuni ngekhathi lokho nathi kusineta motivation ukuthi nathi sifunze sibe njengabo sibe njengabo sikhule sichubeke nathi sendele nje etinye tinfo.
Baholi baleli bandla bakhutsata abatali ukuthi nabo babesekele bantfwana basayede ekolweni nanoma sebangenile. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Nelisiwe Ndlangamandla nginagiyani Msibi eMbabane.
Inhlangano yeStuki Motsa Foundation seyikhombisile ukuthi imfundo ayisibo yalabakhethekile kuphela kodwa wonke kufanele afinyelele kuyo. Le nhlangano sende lokhu ngakwekuthi ivule etandla ukuthi labakhubatekile nalabanelibala bafake ticelo temfundzate lotawusekela labatawuzuza ngelitfuba lekufundza ngetemakhono. Umsunguli wale nhlangano Stuki Motsa uthi akukhatsaleleki ukuthi umuntu ucedzile esikolweni noma akacedzi.
Inhloso iqinisekisa ukuthi nalabakhubatekile bavaleleke kutemfundo. Inhlangano yeStuki Motsa Foundation memala bakhubatekile ukuthi bativete basitakale ngemathuba emisebenzi nekuchubekisa imfundo nalabanemakhono kanjalo nanabo bativete kule nhlangano.
Sesifuna wonke nje lo nedisability noma ufikile ka form 5 noma ugcina ka standard 5 lokuthi nje kukhona la agcine khona ngetemfundo sitokhona kubona ukuthi bangasekeleka kanjani ekuthenini nabo bathole lokungabaphilisa baphindze futhi basite ekufukuleni umnotho. Khanze ukuthi umfu ngibekise nje ufikile ka standard 5 kepha unelikhono lekubata naye akafake asho ukuthi ngigcine ka 5 kodwa mina ngenda naku atokhona naye ukuthi asekeleke agcine atfolile lelo phepha lelitawumenda ukuthi acasheke noma akhone kusitakala ukuthi angenda lomkhicito wakhe ube mkhulu.
Ngekusho kwakhe Stuki labakhubatekile kufaka ikhasi nalabanelibala nanabo lebatikhanza bangasicedzi isikole labanyeke kubete nemathuba emisebenzi ngenxa yokukhubateka kwabo nesimo sabo. Elizabeth ngingugiyane emsibiki naneliswendla ngamandla eMbabane.
Inhlangano lethuthukisa abomake labasemakhaya esifundzeni sakaSadak i-Rural Women's Assembly ligatsha lapha eVeni ithi njengoba imithelela eguquguquka kwesimo selitulu iyachubeka nekusihlasela itawuthuthukisa kongiwa kwetinhlanyelo kude tekulima dikhonse. Lokhu kuvetwe ngumcondzisi walenhlangano lapha eVeni Zakithi Sibanze.
Batawufundza sasesibanike nemkhankaso lomkhulu lapho khona si produce i-seed audit book siyisebentisa kanye ne-region bekulucwaningo lapho khona sibuka ukuthi ngitiphi tinhlanyelo letisekhona tikuphi nelivela kangwane. Lamanye amaveli abekakhona bekangu-7 ku-region yakaSadak nabo bebenta emaveni abo but sayihlanganisa ukuthi sitawuhamba siye eGermany siye eNetherlands siye eFrance lapho khona sifike sende seed exhibition kube netinhlanyelo netithombe talabalimi labakhona enhlanganweni tabomake basemakhaya. Sitawuphindze futhi si-strengthenishe ama-community seed banks ngoba siyabona kuyacekaceka ikhanze ukuthi tinhlanyelo bomake batigcine emakhaya kuphela but nasekufika tindzaba tetikhukhula sibonile nje kuba nebosangcotho bomake baphephukelwe kwangena emanti letinye tinhlanyelo ukhula sikhanza zitiyalahleka. So nasingakhona ukuthi sibe nema-seed banks lema-community noma lahlekelwe kumbuta siyakhona kuyithola e-seed bank ngoba la sibe sesithola khona ku-National Seed Bank yakangwane e-Gene Bank kuphela kude ema-seed banks kuma-communities kude ama-seed banks kuma-region. So sibuke phambili ukuthi mane kube nale ma-community sase siyachubeka ke eminyakeni letayo sesibuke tayindzaba ukuthi kube nema-seed banks kuma-regions nakhona.
Likhaya lekugcina abantfwana i-SOS Children's Village lelinakekela abantfwana labangetulu kwetinkulungwane letintsatfu icela lusito lokwesokela ngetimali ikakhulu kulesikhatsi sekuvulwa kwetikolo. Umchumanisi walelikhaya Temalangeni Dlamini uthi labanye balabantfwana badzinga imali yekubhadala etikolweni.
I-SOS Children's Village igcina abamfana bendlunkulu nalabo labalahlwe badali babo labanye labangadiwa. Le nhlangano ithi seyinebulukhuni bekusebenta ngenxa yekweswelakala kwetimali.
Sicela-ke eMaswatini amahle kokuthi asichase ngaloko labangasichasa ngako. Le campaign yethu le-One Lilangeni campaign ibuke kakhulu kokuthi uma ngabe singaba nebantfu eMaswati lakangasisita afake imali lengaba nje noma kusuka eshumini yena noma ngabe ngumalini. Liswati lilinye nje nalingatinikela lithi ngenyanga likhokha 30 emalangeni lokungasho ukuthi kuba 10 lilinye ngelanga. Nenhlangano ke noma inkampani noma lisonto noma ke ngama-associations noma ngama-cooperatives angasinikelela nawo ngetimali angaphinde asinikelele futhi ngaloko labakukhicitako. Kungaba umkhicito lofaka ekhathi i-stationery lofaka ekhathi ama-school uniforms kulesikhathi samanje nje sidinga kakhulu leto tinto ukubuyisela abantwana esikolweni. Sinetindleko letiningi letifaka ekhathi ama-school fees ekubuyisela abantwana labangu 288 laba bantwana labahlala eKhatsi village. Kanti-ke futhi sinebantwana labangu 3180 laba bantwana-ke lesibasita in different communities njengoba nje simhlangano yaka SOS sisebentela ngahoho elibonjeni nasenishiselweni nakhona la kaManzini bakhona nebantwana lesibasitako. So sidzinga le mali lena-ke emaswati lamahle ukuze sichubeke nalo msebenzi leswendaba. Inhlangano yaka SOS nje kulomnyaka wonke ibuke tidzingo letingaba ngu-2.7 million.
Lenhlangano ithi itawucinisekisa ukuthi yonke imali lenikelwe ifeza tidzingo tebamfana. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Nelsiwe Nhlangamandla eMbabane.
Reverend David Geng welibandla le-Good News Mission uthi libandla linemsebenzi wekubambisa tinhlangothi letahlukene ekuqinisekiseni intuthuko yabantu labasha. Geng ukuvete lokhu ngesikhathi kwephetha umhlangano wekuqeqesha abantu labasha ngetemakhono kanye naleto tebuvolontiya.
Libandla le-Good News Mission ngaphansi kwenhlangano lebuke ukucijisa abamfu labasha ngemakhono, i-International Youth Fellowship libambe umhlangano esikolo emalanga lamathathu bekucecesha abamfu labasha ngemakhono ekwakha nekulima kanye nebumcoka bekuvolontiya uma kunesitsingo emangweni ngalawo makhono lesebawatfolile. Umfundisi waleli bandla Reverend David Gang uthi libandla nalo kunenzima lekumele lidlale ekucijiseni bamfu labasha ngemakhono ekuphila.
Youth are the future of next generation and the future of the country. Not only as a role of the church, whole the society, we have to help the young people to learn and improve their life through skills and through developing their mindset. So we Good News Mission Church is trying to help uplifting the youth through providing agriculture project, construction skill and vocational training skill.
Bamfu labasha labayingcenye yalomhlangano bathi ngalamakhono batawukhona kutiphilisa.
Ngikhanzelana ukuthi kuyalinywa nami ngafika ngagaina i-experience ngaba expose ekulimeni ukuthi tintfo letiningi tendiwa kanjani ngoba yes esikoleni siyafunza but i-experience asibi exposed kakhulu. So lana ngifike ngabona ngayenda nalento cishe everyday practically because siyasebenta engadini everyday.
So likhono lesengilitfolile ngikhona ukuthola likhono lekwenta welding engineering, ngaphinze ngaphola likhono le-farm management. So lokhu nje ngikhuluma, I'm the leader of agriculture, whereby we have the farm here, so we grow vegetables and we sell, and we also have lessons whereby bamfu bayafunza kude ema-organization lamaningi atofunza insha yakhona lana.
Inhlangano yakamhlaba yetisebeni International Labour Organization ILO ithi emave emhlaba semathubeni lasetulo ekuthuthukisa umnotfo uma bamfu labasha bacijisiwe ngemakhono. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Samkelisiwe Khoza ngasimuva Shongwe kaManzini.
Kutemidlalo licembu leMbabane Highlanders lichubekele esigabeni sema-quarter finals enzebe yeIngwenyama Cup kulandzela kuncoba kuma-penalties kuLuwi. Lo mdlalo bewupheleke ngeligoli linye kulinye ku-90 minutes.
Ingwenyama Cup ichubekile ngelisomva etinkundleni letimbili takuleli lokuyi-King Sobhuza the Second Memorial enhlangano kanye nasemavuso Sports Center. Emavuso kudlala imidlalo lemibili kanti emidlalweni wokuqala iMbabane Highlanders beyitholana nelicembu le-Louis 14. Lo mdlalo ukhombe kuba nelisasasa lelikhulu njengoba lamacembu bekathola amathuba ekushaya leligoli lamanyenti. Licembu le-Louis 14 ngilo lelithola iligoli kuqala lelishaya nguSakhile wakashongwe kwayiwayikhefini hamba imbili ngeligoli linye kucanzeni. Esigabeni sesibili buyile iMbabane Highlanders seyifuna kulinganisa umceceshi Dumisani Makhanya wende tinguquko lefika ikhathi Sibusiso Thwala logcina thola ligoli leMbabane Highlanders likulinganisa lo mdlalo. Kubebete licembu lelithola lekuncoba lokuphocelele noMpembe ukuthi ayise lo mdlalo kuma-penalties. Kuma-penalties akayihambeli kahle Louis 14 njengoba igeje lamabili ekuqala lokwenda ukuthi iMbabane Highlanders iuncobe lo mdlalo ngema-penalties angu-4 kulamabili. Kanti kuleminye imidlalo ledlaliwe licembu laManzini Wanderers likhale phasi kuma-penalties nga-7-6 kumadlenya ngemuva ukuthi badlale ngelicanza ecanzeni ku-90 minutes. Abavikela lenzebe iGreen Mamba inqobile kuManzini Cibets nga 4-3 kuma penalties ngemuva kokudlala ngeligoli kulinye ku-90 minutes. Insingizini noSpurs yona inqobile kuDenver Sundowns ngamagoli amabili ecanzeni. Lobikela umsakazo Eswatini TV kutemidlalo ngilinda Dlamini eMbabane.
Mengameli wenhlangano yemidlalo wesibhakela lapha eVeni Webster Lukhele uthi uyajabula kubona abashayi besibhakela bela kuleli bakhona kucutselana ngekulingana naThabiso Dlamini lobuya eVeni laseRussia kuyawuqeqeshwa khona. Lukhele bekakhulumana kuchubeka imidlalo yekuhlungela imidlalo yema All Africa Games alonyaka lebeyibanjelwe Olympia Africa kalobamba.
Inhlangano lengameli umdlalo wesibhakela kuleli bamba imidlalo ekuhlungela imidlalo ema All Africa Games latoba 7 laseGhana kulomnyaka losetulo. Kanze amaqembu langenelela imidlalo al-13.
Nawe bowukhona ubonile lizinga lisetulu kakhulu. Ubonile nemidlalo wethu lo seRussia ukhona naye. Ubonile ukuthi bamnika i-tough time lenjani khona la khaya shothi sibhakela kusahamba kahle ngisho kanjalo. Lebese kuyendakelana because silungisela ema All Africa Games. Besizama ukuthi labadlali babe sezingeni lisetulu because sisatawukhetha lebatawukhona kuyosimela kuma All Africa Games so sifuna lokho bahlale ba on tours.
Kanzi Thabiso Dlamini lodlale kwicala solwabuyile eVeni laseRussia lapho khona alolongwa khona unqobile umdlalo wakhe kumitho la chess uyavuma ukuthi bashaye besibhakela bakuleli benyusile kakhulu.
Okay, ngingasho ukuthi ngihappy ngendlela engidlale ngayo because lokunye bengudiscoverile nangiseRussia ukuthi ngiyakhona ukudlala as a southpaw. So ngikwendile lokho ke and it worked for me. Bese ke sekudependa ngokuthi naleli boxer lohlangene nalo silungiselele kwecala kwesibili amaboxer akafani umuntu naye lodlala ngendlela adlala ngakhona which is umuntu lo hliphetako nakashaya or something. So ngivamise ukustrugglisha vele nangidlala emaboxer la kanjalo but today it was okay and it was a fight nami lengijabulisi.
Yena Dlamini uthi lokhu alapha eVeni utawuchubeka nekulandzela luhlelo laniketwe lona eRussia njengoba kulomnyaka losetulu ubuke kuyongenela imidlalo ema-Olympics eVeni laseFrance. Lobikela umsakazo Eswatini TV kutemidlalo ngilinda Dlamini kalobamba.
Ungosa stephethe ngaleyo ndzaba leyo sibuke isimo selitulu sibahlwe emarket esitabuya sichubeke.
Welcome back. Siyavuselana nolosandza kusivulela saba kusinkethe kuvuka nathi lamhla ekseni. Sisebhekekile ukuthi sikhulumisane naye Chief Roads Engineer sibuka nje i-progress on the rehabilitation of imigwaqo lapha ekhaya Eswatini ke manje kumanje sawuthi kubuka tindzaba leti hambe embili nje mhlambe nasibuka impela somvo lesisuka kiyo sidaqala ngayo indzaba yenhlangano leyasungulwa lizinyane lembube mfana Nkosi Lindane ilihle laMswati Foundation lehlanyele tigidzi temalangeni letine kufundzisa abantwana bakuleli labaswele labangetulu kwemakhulu lasithupha kusukela yasungulwa eminyakeni lelishumi nakuthathu leyengcile lokho kuvakale ngalobuke kusebenta kwetimali lenhlangano non-yavis ngesikhathi lenhlangano yetfulela betindzaba umbiko wekusebenta kumfundzate losita abantwana labeswele ekuphindze kwevakala nekokuthi eminyakeni wekufundza wa-2023 lenhlangano ihlanyele half yesigidzi kufundzisa abantwana bendlunkulu labangetulu kwamashumi lasihlanu etikolweni letingetulu kwamashumi lamathathu eveni lonke.
Ngesikhathi ingwenyama icitha libutho ngempelasonto lephelile ikhuthate umoya wokubambisana nekuthi umnyaka wa-2024 kube ngumnyaka lotawuba nemakhambi kuto tonke tinsaye yalive lelibhekene nato. Lo moya wokuletha emakhambi uyabonakala kumfana Nkosi Lindane lechubekako nekufundzisa abantwana labeswele ngenhlangano yakhe layisungula ilihle leMswati Foundation. Lobuka itimali kule nhlangano non-Javis uthi le nhlangano ihlanyele imali lengamalangeni latigidzi letinye nengcenye kufundzisa abantwana labangetulu kwemakhulu lasithupha kusukela yasungulwa ngumfana Nkosi eminyakeni lelishumi nakuthathu leyengcile.
Lihle leMswati Foundation contributed 544,487 emalangeni towards the education of 59 orphaned and vulnerable Swati children in 36 schools across the country for the 2023 academic year. The foundation has invested a total of 4,090,997 emalangeni to educate 651 destitute Swati children in different parts of the country since the inception of the bursary scheme 13 years ago. The Foundation's mission is to improve the lives of disadvantaged children and the elderly in the Kingdom of Eswatini under 4 main pillars: education, shelter, wash, which includes water, sanitation and health, and clothing. Empowering the youth as future leaders and responsible citizens is the Foundation's priority, hence the substantial investment in the education pillar over the years.
Le nhlangano yatiqhenya ngebafundzi lababili lebasitako lekuboyandiswa nzinisa na Liselihle Thwala labahlabene eveni lonke jikelele ehlolweni lwaka-Form 3. Munye wabo Liselihle Thwala wendlulise emavi ekubonga enhlanganweni.
Mine is to just pass gratitude to the foundation for their financial support, because not only do we procure financial support, Gobo, but we also get motivation to progress in our academics, and we are able to achieve academic excellence. It is because of their endless support.
Lo msakato utsanze kwati kumabhalane walenhlangano Mduduzi Masilela kutsi ngitiphi tingoni letingahanja bantfwana labangafisa kusitwa ngule nhlangano. Imphendvulo yakhe ihambisane nekutsi yacela kutsi ibanjiswe le nhlangano kute itawukhulisana nani lebantfwana labasitakalako.
Ishosi kwekucala lesibuka kolokuthi uperforme njani ngoba ngikole kusiniketa umcondo wesi lo mntwana utimisela kanganani. Lesibili ke lesibese siyayibuka nasesibonile leyo sibese sibuka busweti lobukhona lekhaya. Busweti ke behlukana. Uye ukhanze sithi lesinye isikhathi lo mntwana ushonelwe ngumtali noma ushonelwe batali noma bakhona labatali manevele bampofu. Sibese sesiyakubuka ke nako lokho. Lo nyaka sina 55. Kulo mnyaka lophele besina 59. Iyehla le nombolo. Le nombolo ke yehliswa ngilokuthi site kahle lama funds than the number of applications that we would want to consider. So siyafisa naloku ucela isiveni ukuthi naso sive netinkampani labo labangakhona kusilekelela abajike nabo litshe esivivaneni.
Nosipho Dlamini ubongele bantfwana labasitwe kulenhlangano lese baqedzile isikolo labo labasenyuvesi nasemakoleji nalabo lesevele batoha.
Ngami kutibongela kakhulu kulihle leMaswati for konke labasindele kona. Angiboni ukuthi ngabe ngikhona lapho ngikhona khona if bengasibo bona. Basisite kakhulu ngendlela lesimanga andisiyabonga uNkulunkulu kuba nabo.
Nembala litawuqhubeka libe lihle leMaswati njengoba isho nenhlangano yemvane ngozi uma ngabe bukhosi butawuqhubeka bunakekele sive ngalendlela. Ngalesento sakhe lesinhle lasendako umvane ngosi Lindani ujika litshe esivivaneni kuto tonke tinhlelo telive teqinisekisa ukuthi kusasa litawuba nemadvodza nabomake labafundzile labatawulithuthukisa. Kubika Sandile Makhanya enhloko dolobha yelive iMbabane.
Mhlonishwa indvuna yelitiko letemadolobha Pholo Maphalala uthi litiko lakhe lisabuka ukuthi lingawuchubela kanjani umthetho wemthelo wetitandi letiwatiwa nge-Rating Act. Indvuna ithi lokhu kwentelwa ukuthi kutawunakeka indzaba yebantfwana kanye nebantfu lesebakhulile labatikhandza sebasele netitandi bangakhoni kutitselela. Indvuna ikuvete lokhu nayikhuluma netinsatheli egedeni yeNgwenya.
Sesitse kakhulu sikhatsi eMaswati lahlala emadolobheni akhala ngemtsetfo wekutsela kwetitandi lobe kukhalisa sive kutsi bantfwana labashonelwe batali bemukwa titandi ngenxa yekungakhoni kutitselela kanjalo nabogogo nabomkhulu. Litiko letemadolobha nekutfutfukiswa kwawo selikuvile lokukhala.
Kureview kwemthetho ke akuthatha isikhathi lesifishanyana kuyasithatha isikhathi ngoba kuna wide stakeholder consultation nalo kufuna ndivalwe tonke imbotshana ngoba labanye kungendeka ukuthi bese ba register ama properties abo ngebantfwana ku avoid ukubhadala ama rates. So maningi ema logistics that we need to take into account, but that review is ongoing. But lena yesibili ngile ukuthi njoba sihamba nje lapha emadolobheni akusesine ukuthi lihlelo lwahulumende, but as a ministry we are challenging emadolobha ukuthi let them find other alternative means of sustaining kuphila kwemadolobha.
Indvuna ithi balitiko basebenzisana nemadolobha kubuka ukuthi umthwalo kubantfu basemadolobheni ungancishiswa njani kuze sive singekhameki ngemthelo wetitandi. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Themnkosi Mavimbela ngina Fortune Dlangamandla eNgwenya.
Asike kuletinye itindzaba indvuna yelitiko letemtsetfo nemtsetfosisekelo umhlonishwa umvane nkosi Simelane uthi umnyango ucondzisa timile kuleli udzinga kusekelwa ngato tonke tindlela njengoba umsebenzi wawo awugcini njengekunaka labagcinwe kuwo kodwa uphindze ufake isandla lesibandi ekuthuthukiseni umnotho welive. Umvane nkosi yabe khuluma ngesikhathi ayobona imisebenzi leyendiwa lijele lakumathapha.
Kube kuhle kuyumgcotshwa kaSomandla ingwenyama yeMaswati. Ingwenyama Mswati wesithathu kwekuthi ingetele lamakhosini iminyaka lemithathu. Ethe wena phakathi. Sibonga nemsebenzi lenifundisa bona bomalume senisitshengisile yonke kuyashiya mina ke nemnakethu David Simelane lo bekusifiso sami ukuthi ngimbone ngemehlo kusho nje ngafakwa kule tongo sami naleso sifiso umthandazo wami ngisolo ngifisa bekunene ukuthi ngimbonile wenkosi awujabulile saqoqa ukuthi awu wami emukela Jesu naye Thabo simbonile bekunene ubuyile nemtimbeni awamanzi atela bekunene esho sikukuhle nje kafisha baphatheke kahle bonke bonkosi.
Umphathi wemnyango wetekucondzisa Dona Timilo lamakhosini Dlamini ubonge kakhulu endvuneni ukuthi inyathele kuleli lijele waphindza wacela kusekelwa kakhulu nguye uhulumende lo mnyango usaqhuba yona imisebenzi yalo lijele. Uphindze futhi wacela ukuthi kuthuthukiswe Dona tinhlala kahle tisebenzi talomnyango wasejele.
Ukufika kweminister nje sijabulela kakhulu sikhulume tonke ubonile sakhuluma sacela sabika tinkinga nalokuhle konke kufaka kona emaphoyisa faka lesibagadzile faka netinsita tekusebenta awusintshele konke sijabula kakhulu.
Induna yetemthetho nemthetho sisekelo umthane Nkosi Simelane ihlole inhlangothi letahlukahlukene kuleli jele lapho khona ikhonjiswe tekulima lapho kukhicitwa khona kudla lokuya emajele lahlukene kuleli nalapho khona kucocodwa timoto letilimele tiphindze dipendwe. Lo lwati lolutholakala lapha ejele luphindze futhi lwendluliselwe nasesiveni ikakhulu insha leyo lefise kuba nemakhono ekusebenta mahala ha. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Mbongwa Dlube nasikhumbuzo Dlamini kumathapha.
10 minutes before 7 o'clock, starts as careful nasibuya sidabe sixoxisana na Chief Roads Engineer.
What do you think the best part of traveling is? Is it the food, or is it the conversation, or is it the sights and sound? If you're ready to explore, we are ready to show you the best way how. We'll give you access to the best luxury getaway sites in the Kingdom of Eswatini, and of course show you vacation sites that suit your budget, because you do not need a lot of money to actually have a great time. Join us on the next adventure on Buhle Bethu, only on Eswatini TV.
Eswatini Lifestyle is all about inspiration, drive and swag. Eswatini Lifestyle is informative and fun while covering all aspects of life, be it people, places and trends in the Kingdom of Eswatini. We got you covered. The focus is on the quality of life. Eswatini Lifestyle will spark your interest. Catch Eswatini Lifestyle every Friday at 7:30 p.m. on Eswatini TV, Sibugo Semaswati.
Let me tell you about my crush. Nenzale inhlitiyo yami embi kwakho njengebudala.
Ngondlo isiswayo.
It is 3 in the afternoon. We are back in the living.
For men are so kind towards creation more than they even were to their own creator.
I am the greatest of this generation. They'll be calling me the girl who made poetry look cool, yo. Cool.
Asimze sinobokelesa kuvuselana olosanza kusivulela bezivedile ukuthi sistabe sikhulumisana nanjenelalo omkhulu etiko letemsemele emkhulu nekuthutha Vincent Dlamini sibuka nje kakhulu iphuma projects endiwa nguhulumende kuzama kulungisa imigwaqo yela kuleli sabuka nje ama projects la 5 lapho khona uhulumende sekacalile kulungisa kanye nekwakha imigwaqo so vele sokhona umlangeni Nkosi saba ngisuba nasi nomhla ekseni solo sanibona nje nenguhulumende kakhulu kade litiko solo siyalibona liyazama kuyilungisa imigwaqo especially because kulamalanga nje kunetimvula imigwaqo vele iyalimala ngifuna sibuke nje mhlambe le imigwaqo le 5 le la solo hulumende la solo ayilungisa emhlaleni mahamba main road 9 sibuke kakhulu nengonyeni bridge and construction of ingonyeni edwaleni feeder road naleminye nje imigwaqo hulumende la sayicalile kuyilungisa.
Siyabonga msakade sivusele nebabukeli belihlela. Kuliciniso kuyasetshenzwa umgwaqo lo suka emhlaleni ofika kumahamba lo MR9 sidama kwenda irehabilitation kuyasetshenzwa lapho kune contract lekhona labahamba ngalomgwaqo lo nje bayabona lokho ukuthi sekuyahambeka akusafana nayidolo bese nenkinga enkulu ema potholes umgwaqo vele kubonakala ukuthi awuna uyenhlangana akusahambeki kepha nyalo kuyahanjwa nalama blolo abalako bongwenyeni lapha na edwaleni kwakho aliblo mbamba hayi lama box culverts liblo eliphakeme lelitakwenda lokuthi noma ngabe lomfula kumbe so utangethi khukhula khonakala lokuthi abantu labayale bogebeni nabombini bakhona kwewela lena kuboza ndondo nakhona sitawukhumbula ukuthi kwaba nesehlakalo lapho khona kwahamba ibus beyilayishe abantu yamuka abantu bakhanza ukuthi balahlekelwa ngomphefumulo ngalomunye umnyaka sithi teke awusilitiko asasambe soyilungisa lenzaba kungathi uphinzeka lo lokwendeka kuyakhiwa sekuphelile ke phake khona ayina ukuthi kusakhiwa sekuphelile engonini izovukele ngumgwaco nawe yemathamo wajubeka lo mgwaco lo emathamo lo ngeMR1 kepha ke i-team yethu ikhona isesayithini iyasebenza nyalo sidama ukuthi sikulungise lokho ukuze ukuthi singethi ukhanza sinesimo lapho khona na usuka kubomathamo utakubomba abantu ukhanza kusakhona ukufika ngala noma na usuka ngalana uye emathamo noma kumbe uyaphuma uya le dulu kubombombela ukhanza kusahambeke so sine team ilapha on site iyasebenza empaka nakhona besinenkinga lapha eBloweni la kaloliwe belijubekile sesicethile ke lapho i-team yethu yaselibonjeni yaka works isebentile lapho ukusethiyahamba imoto sesimele nje kusale sesifaka litiyela otherwise lo mgwaco wona sekuyahambeka kanti nakhona bese sinenkinga ukuthi umnotho welive kutaba nenkinga ukuthi na usuka naboshukela lekubomhlume nabosimunye utana bongala bomathapha amanzini mbabane noma kumbe uyaphuma ufuna kuya egedeni engwenya kumbe utaba nenkinga ukuthi ngawuzakhona kufika ngala noma ke sotaba netikwelete letinkulu ukuthi sohamba indzawo lenza but ke sikhonile ukuthi sikulungise lokho ngesivinini lesimadima kakhulu njengoba sisebenza nje silitiko sisebenza ngayilo operation ukuthi kuvele kuyagijinywa kude lapho khona ufike ume
yeah ngalokho siveleni lelitiko nkosini buke vele nalemenye imisebenzi ikakhulukazi nje lamadolobheni ama traffic lights kanye nama street lights kuva nje nkosi lokho ukuthi kuletinye indzawo solo kumnyama vele especially mawusuka eOshoek engwenya lamgwaqo solo kumnyama but letinye indzawo siyabona sivele litiko liyazama kuwafaka lama street lights kusuka sekubambeni kulete indzawo lapho solo khona angafakwa lama street lights
msakade sisebenza ngawo uthi mhlambe ngaleso sikhathi imali lesinato tinganani siyathi lokho ukuthi kusuka engwenya udela mbabane isikhatsini lesiningi kumnyama lokwenda ukuthi kube mnyama kakhulu ukuthi kunalaba la beba le cable ngiko nje sesinyinya manje sesenta ma solar lights siyathi ke sitakusebenta lokho siyakusebenta ngicabanga lokho ukuthi nje njengoba sitawuthola emaphakelo manje ngabe indvuna isiphakela le tiko letemafa sitayisebenta inzabe kusuka oShoek uTembabane sibone ukuthi senda kanjani nyalo sesabuke kakhulu kusuka lambabane uyofika amanzini nangabe nje unganaka nalabo labahamba ngetimoto banganaka ebusuku sekuyakhanya kukhanya lamasola lesiwafakako so sita ngema phases ukuthi asicale la sifike lana kwanyalo imali difuma ukuthi sifike la but sitayisebenta inzabe kusuka engwenya uTembabane sisebenyalo lesekusebentile nje manje lokunye lambabane inzaba yema traffic lights mangwaneni siwashintshile bese sive sikhala ukuthi awu naku sekusale ichiso lo akukhanyi mangwaneni ema street lights ayasebenza emangwaneni ayasebenza ema street lights lapha entasesibhedlela sesiwafakile futhi lamanye lamasha lapha kule junction lesemkhathini waka engine kaGalp kulamala siyacedzela nje manje sicedzela nawa la now enhla kweNetbank building nakhona sifaka lamasha lana buchwepheshe lobusha la khona ukuthi ngema LED aphinze futhi abe nema timer ukuthi na uta ulibone lokuthi usekusele ama seconds langaka ukuthi ligucuke sendela ukuthi kutokhona ukuthi bashayele ngendlela lephephile umuntu ede angafuni kulishaya bese soyangena so ungena kanzili yavala avele athi kusase litawuvala ngelo sekusele 1 second ukuthi livale sale ngihamba ngendlela lephephile so ngilokunye lesekusebenta lokho sitakwenda ke kulamanye amadolobha lapha khona kunemigwaqo yahulumende leyenca khona ngoba kunemigwaqo yahulumende lokhanza ukuthi yenca edolobheni so lo leyo migwaqo leyo ke ivele ibukwe ngithi ukuthi siyayisebenta ke emsakadi ngendlela lefanele.
Okay, no, ngiyabona sima kakhulu Nkosi. Isikhathi sakho mbukele bekunye Chief Roads Engineer loyo losuka khona etiko la Public Works and Transport. Let's take a break nasibuya sithatha indaba ngaphandle.
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, we are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced,
and fair. From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news, we bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards.
This is Eswatini TV News.
Welcome back. It's 7 o'clock. Let's take a look at international news. Moscow installed officials said Ukrainian shelling killed at least 27 people and wounded 25 on Sunday at a market on the outskirts of Donetsk, a Russian-occupied city in the eastern part of the country. Viewer discretion is advised on the following story.
Horror struck this market on the outskirts of Donetsk at its busiest time of the day. It's a huge shock for Ilya, who's just lost his mother. She was a regular saleswoman there.
I was near the road when I heard a loud bang. I turned around and I saw smoke. I went a little bit closer and I saw her. She had lost her legs.
She was standing right here when it happened. We found half of her body under the table. I got her out myself. Her body was still warm, but my wife is gone.
The circumstances of the attack are still unclear, but Russia accuses Ukraine. According to Moscow, it's an act of barbaric terrorism that demonstrates the necessity of carrying out its invasion. The city of Donetsk was put under the control of pro-Russian separatists back in 2014 and then illegally annexed by Russia in 2022. It's been at the heart of Ukraine's counteroffensive in the Donbass and is regularly the target of strikes. But the death toll of Sunday's attack looks like it could be one of the highest in months. Kyiv is yet to comment on the incident.
At least 178 people were killed in the past 24 hours in the Gaza Strip, and now the death toll after 3 months of fighting has eclipsed 25,000 there, according to the enclave's Hamas-run health ministry. The United Nations says the vast majority of the victims are women and children. Heavy clashes continued on Sunday morning in southern Gaza's Khan Yunis. Viewer discretion is also advised on the following story.
People in Rafah shine their torches on the remains of a car, hit by an Israeli airstrike just moments before. The passengers are all dead, and rescuers are tasked with cleaning the remains.
We were walking on the street when suddenly the strike hit. It's happened more than once already. First we heard the strike, so we came to see what happened. We saw the people cut into pieces, and the car was still rolling a bit further down the road. The victims had nothing to do with the fighting. They were civilians.
As the Israeli offensive pushes south, these scenes are becoming increasingly familiar. The larger town of Khan Yunis, located about 10 kilometers away, has now become a key target for the Israeli military. On Saturday, it released these images purporting to show the troops' ground operations in the city, as well as underground shafts the army says it discovered in the area. But as Israel scales up its operations in the south, Gaza's civilian population, 85% of which is now believed to be displaced, is trapped at the border with Egypt.
People continue to arrive in Rafah from various places in their thousands, in desperate situations, setting up makeshift shelters with any material they can get their hands on. I've seen men and children digging for bricks to be able to hold in place tents made with plastic bags in place. This is a massive human rights crisis and a major human-made humanitarian disaster.
The UN's UNRWA agency says about 1 million people are now crowded into the Rafah area.
With the backdrop of the Israel-Hamas war, a combination of racial attacks and controversial statements over the weekend have stirred the already tense environment in the Middle East.
Tensions in the Middle East are flaring after a strike in the Syrian capital Damascus killed 5 Iranian Revolutionary Guards commanders Saturday. Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi blamed Israel and vowed retaliation. The Jewish state hasn't claimed responsibility and continues focusing on hitting Hamas targets in Gaza. That's in response to a terrorist attack launched by the group in October that killed 1,200 people. About 240 people were also taken hostage. Since the Israel-Hamas war began, the United States, a staunch supporter of Israel, has also seen its military presence in the Middle East come under attack dozens of times. On Saturday, the target was its Al-Assad air base in Iraq.
It was a very serious attack using a capability of ballistic missiles that pose a genuine threat through the skill of U.S. forces. And the United States has demonstrated in the past when these attacks have taken place in Iraq and Syria that we are going to respond when we deem it's necessary to reestablish and try to establish deterrence in these situations and to hold these groups accountable that continue to attack us.
With Gaza health officials reporting more than 25,000 people killed so far in the Israel-Hamas war, the United States isn't easing its pressure on Israel to protect civilians and to allow additional humanitarian assistance to be delivered.
They've announced in recent days that they're going to allow flour to be delivered to an Israeli port in Ashdod and then brought into Gaza. These are small but consequential steps, but they're also not enough.
Amidst food shortages, volunteers have been distributing bread to displaced Palestinians in Rafah. The situation, however, is unsustainable, warned UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres during the 19th summit of the Non-Aligned Movement held this weekend in Kampala, Uganda.
People are dying not only from bombs and bullets, but from lack of food and clean water, hospitals without power and medicine, and grueling journeys to even smaller slivers of land to escape the fighting. This must stop.
But even as he faces domestic pressure from relatives of the Israeli hostages to reach a deal with Hamas, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took to social media Saturday, repeating his earlier vow of destroying Hamas and underscoring the need to retain security control over Gaza after the war ends.
The State of Israel must have security control over all the territory west of the Jordan River. This is a necessary condition, and if it conflicts with the idea of Palestinian sovereignty, what to do?
His remarks put into question the two-state solution with the Palestinians that the United States and other parties have backed for years as a permanent solution to the conflict.
Ecuador's authorities on Thursday arrested the suspected killers of a prosecutor and deployed soldiers to take control of a key prison as part of an ongoing war between the government and powerful criminal gangs.
Hundreds of Ecuadorian soldiers and heavily armed police are sent into Guayas prison after the assassination of a prosecutor. The security forces were searching for prohibited items and maintaining order. Meanwhile, police arrested 2 men suspected of involvement in the murder.
We have arrested 2 people. One is a taxi driver and the other is the alleged hitman. We're comparing the ballistic evidence found at the scene to confirm that these 2 weapons, both the long gun and the short gun, were used in the murder of the prosecutor.
Police are also looking for 2 other suspects whom they believe to be from the gang the Chone killers. Crime prosecutor Cesar Suarez was killed when gang members opened fire on his car on the way to a court hearing in Guayaquil on Wednesday. Officials called it a bloody escalation of an ongoing war between the government and criminal groups.
This event has saddened us as an institution. We are carrying out preliminary investigations at the scene of the events. Our objective, as in any other case of violent death, is ensuring that this case does not go unpunished.
Suarez had been entrusted with pursuing organised criminals in Guayas province, one of the country's most violent areas, and the site of an armed takeover on television last week. Suarez was leading the investigation into the dramatic attack. Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa has since announced a 60-day state of emergency and has declared a war on drug gangs, designating 22 criminal groups as terrorist organisations. The once peaceful South American country has become a hub for the global export of cocaine from neighbours Colombia and Peru. A wave of gang-related attacks in recent weeks has left dozens dead.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis suspended his Republican presidential campaign on Sunday on the eve of the New Hampshire primary and endorsed Donald Trump, ending a White House bid that failed to meet expectations that he would emerge as a serious challenger to the former president.
It's a major twist in the Republican presidential primary. Once seen as Donald Trump's greatest threat, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has dropped out of the race.
If there was anything I could do to produce a favorable outcome, more campaign stops, more interviews, I would do it. But I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign.
After several days of deliberation, it became clear that it no longer made financial sense for him to continue his campaign, particularly after a disappointing second-place finish in last week's Iowa Republican caucuses. Instead, DeSantis will be supporting Trump.
Well, I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents.
Music to the ears of Donald Trump's supporters.
One of our opponents, very capable person, is dropping out of the race, Ron DeSantis. And Ron is dropping out, and in doing so, he endorsed us.
The announcement comes just 2 days before the New Hampshire primary, where DeSantis was polling only 6% compared to Trump's 50% and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley's 39%. Haley also reacted to the news at an event in Seabrook.
He's been a good governor, and we wish him well. Having said that, it's now one fella and one lady left. May the best one win.
She's now the only Republican alternative to Donald Trump.
America's allies in Europe are preparing for a possible second presidential term for Donald Trump after he won the Iowa Republican caucus earlier this month, cementing his place as the current front-runner to take on President Joe Biden in November's election.
Donald Trump's victory in the Republican Iowa caucus delivered a wake-up call to America's European allies. Questioned on the possibility of a Trump comeback Wednesday, French President Emmanuel Macron said he would pursue dialogue with whomever is elected in November.
They share our values, but it's a democracy that is also going through a crisis whose top priority is its own interest, and secondly, the Chinese issue. As Europeans, we must be lucid about this. That's also why I want a stronger Europe that can defend itself and not depend on others.
Macron and Trump had a fractious relationship. On the Iowa campaign trail this month, the former US president appeared to mock the French leader's accent as he recalled discussions over trade tariffs.
No, you cannot do that, Donald. You cannot do that.
It was a reminder of Trump's unconventional style. But Europe has bigger concerns than personality politics. With Russia's invasion of Ukraine descending into a bitter war of attrition, Kyiv urgently needs Western military aid. Trump has said he would seek an immediate peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. His Republican supporters in Congress are blocking about $50 billion of military assistance for Kyiv. NATO allies are worried that aid could dry up entirely.
The US is paying a bit less than half of that share, but the US has a very predominant, if not the lead role when it comes to the kind of strategic political questions on Ukraine. So losing the US in the sense of having a US president who might be actually counter to Ukraine's interest and to Europe's interest will be a major blow.
European Union Trade Commissioner Thierry Breton said this month that Trump declared in 2020 that the US would never help Europe if it came under attack and will leave NATO. Trump officials did not comment on Breton's claim. The former US president frequently demanded that America's NATO allies spend more on their own defense. Many Europeans appear to have taken that message seriously.
We need a more European NATO. I think the Americans will not leave us alone, but it's always useful to be prepared for the situation whereby we have to take more responsibility of our own defense. And I think the Americans are right on that.
Europe is investing more in defense, including ramping up ammunition and weapons production for Ukraine. But replacing the central role the US has assumed on Ukraine under President Biden would take time, something Kyiv doesn't have.
President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump seem on track for a rematch in November's presidential election, but questions about the Trump's legal difficulties and both candidates' ages lurk in the background.
Former President Donald Trump faces 91 felony charges, with at least one criminal trial expected this year. Health issues could impact President Joe Biden, who is 81.
Headline: Biden's advanced age is a big issue. Trump's, however, is not.
Or Trump, for that matter, who is 77.
The big night is going to be in November when we take back our country.
But what happens should one of them die or become incapacitated before the November election? If it happens before their party conventions, some states may extend primary dates to allow more candidates into the race. The winner of the primaries is officially announced as the party's presidential nominee at each party's convention. Republicans will hold theirs in July and Democrats in August. If a front-runner drops out and no candidate reaches a majority, delegates can essentially nominate someone else.
There will be a lot of freedom for those delegates to negotiate, pick someone, maybe pick someone else who wasn't running. That has happened in our history. But it will be up to the convention to decide who the nominee is for the Republican or the Democratic Party.
Should the nominee drop out after the convention, the parties would reconvene delegates to select a replacement, and it's not guaranteed that it will be the vice presidential candidate. After the election, it's a similar process. Even if, let's say, Biden wins and cannot serve, his vice president, Kamala Harris, would not automatically be the replacement and electors vote again. But what happens if electors can't agree?
At that point, the election would go to the House of Representatives if no candidate can attain a majority. And so the election really ends up in something that we have not confronted for hundreds of years.
If the president-elect dies after Congress certifies the election result on January 6, the vice president-elect would be inaugurated as president. Any of these scenarios could become an extremely messy process that drags on in the courts, especially if the result is contested. And as the country has witnessed in the siege of the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters on January 6, 2021, it could again turn bloody.
As Ukraine awaits the arrival of long-promised F-16 fighter jets from its Western allies, U.S. experts examine how effective the aircraft might be against Russian threats.
During his 20-year career in the U.S. Air Force, Dan Hampton conducted 151 assault flights piloting F-16 jets. He says that even though Ukraine is likely to receive an older model of the fighter jet, the F-16 could still be a battlefield game-changer for the Ukrainian Air Force.
One of the wonderful things about the airplane is it's very easy to upgrade with more advanced avionics, electronics, radars. Russian-made airplanes don't have anything like that. And if they're flown by Western pilots or Western-trained pilots, then that's an even bigger advantage because we don't fly like the Russians and we don't train people that way.
Hampton had encouraged the U.S. to send F-16 jets to Ukraine back in the spring of 2022 and was frustrated it took the U.S. so long to approve Western allies sending F-16s to Ukraine. Philip Breedlove, NATO's top commander from 2013 to 2016 and a former F-16 pilot, says the jets could help Ukraine conduct ground operations.
The beauty of these multi-role aircraft is that
Once they establish that air superiority over our troops so that our troops can do modern maneuver warfare, which requires battlefield air superiority, once they can do that modern maneuver warfare, then the F-16 swings into being an extremely capable weapon at supporting maneuver on the ground.
Austrian military expert Gustav Gressel says that Russia's latest mass air attacks on Ukrainian cities have shown that Ukraine's air defense systems work very effectively, and that the ongoing war has demonstrated how crucial Western fighter jets might be in Ukraine.
The problem, of course, with existing fighters in Ukraine with Su-27 and MiG-29 is not so much the aircraft, but the ammunition. Most of the rockets and missiles these aircrafts fire are produced in Russia, and it's very hard to get them. So if Ukraine continues to intercept such targets with fighters, it would need Western fighters to fire Western missiles from.
Hampton says to efficiently fend off Russian attacks, Ukraine will need about 36 to 40 F-16 jets. Ukraine has been promised about 60 by Western governments. Since the plane is historically so reliable, he explains, Ukraine doesn't need a huge number of them.
So if you had, 40 airplanes, an F-16, group of 40 airplanes, you could conceivably have 30 then that were ready to fly right now. The rest are going through maintenance or upgrades or something's wrong and they need to fix it. It's a very reliable airplane, so it has a very high, what we call a mission capable rate compared to other airplanes.
According to Western military officials, Ukrainian pilots are currently being trained to operate the jets in Denmark and England, but it's unclear when they will be ready to pilot the jets. It's also unclear when the jets will be delivered to Kiev.
Poland has been rocked by a political crisis and public protest after the country's new government moved quickly to reverse actions the right-wing Law and Justice Party took during its 8-year rule.
Poland has become a political battleground after the newly elected government acted swiftly to change the leadership of crucial institutions, regain control of the public media, and reverse changes to the justice system in what had been a source of disagreement between Poland and the European Union. The now opposition Law and Justice Party, or PiS, which ruled Poland for 8 years, is pushing back against the changes by disrupting work in the parliament and organizing protests on the streets. Last week, opposition supporters marched to the Prime Minister's office, encouraged by their leader, Jarosław Kaczyński.
If we are supposed to win, we need to change this government. They are not even in power for a full month. Yet, ladies and gentlemen, this government, which started implementation of this plan, we need to stop. And at the right moment, using the ballot, we need to change. But change it in a way that they would not come back, because it's not the Polish government.
Former European Commission President Donald Tusk led the center-right coalition that ended the Law and Justice Party's hold on power with a victory in election last October, winning on promises to restore the rule of law and democratic institutions. Tusk, now Poland's prime minister, has pledged to change Poland's direction, reinstate civic rights, boost the economy, and mend relations between Warsaw and the EU. Aleksandra Karasinska, the editor-in-chief of Forbes Woman Polska, says members of the old guard are reluctant to relinquish control.
We had 8 years of very right-wing, conservative, nationalist government. And the old elite is surprised by the result of the election. So they are not really willing to give up on power, but they have to. There was the popular vote. This is democracy. We have a new government, they have majority in the parliament, and they're going to rule.
This week saw the first face-to-face meeting between Polish president and prime minister. While the encounter appeared cordial, relations between President Andrzej Duda, a former member of PiS, and Prime Minister Donald Tusk are strained. Tusk vowed to restore Poland to a European liberal democracy and promised voters his government will prosecute politicians and former peace officials accused of wrongdoing. At the same time, the Polish president remains loyal to his former party, steadfastly defending his former colleagues from prosecution. Jacek Kucharczyk, president of the Institute of Public Affairs in Warsaw, says the new leadership is fulfilling promises made to supporters during the election.
Donald Tusk and his government basically made it their priority to at least start the process of repairing these damaged institutions. And the first institution was the public media, and then the prosecutorial services, because these are crucial institutions for actually holding the former ruling party accountable for the abuse of power that happened during their 2 terms of office. And there is a backlash, obviously, from party loyalists, and that's what we are witnessing right now.
The new opposition's goal is to disrupt parliamentary sessions and make it impossible for the parliament to pass the budget, says Michał Broniatowski, editor-in-chief of Politico Poland.
If this happens, though I think it's very unlikely, the president will have constitutional right to dissolve the parliament and call new elections.
Jacek Kucharczyk says he believes calling new elections would be a big mistake for Duda and his followers.
The situation seems precarious, but I think that the opposition, which attempts to destabilize the situation, has very little chances of succeeding. Assuming that the parliament is indeed dissolved and that new elections are held, the conditions for law and justice and chances of law and justice of winning those early elections are very slim. It would be a big mistake for the president. I think President Duda will set a trap for himself if he indeed tries to call for early election.
Polish society is deeply divided, and the current crisis is seen as a test of its Western-style democratic system at the time when populism is on the rise in Europe.
26 minutes after 7, stipitela pota ngaphandle secret breaks, tabe yasichubeka nehlelo.
Hello and welcome to Eswatini TV and to a brand new talk show called A Cuppa with Nomgebo. And I do what I have to do because I know where I'm going. All 5 of my mothers have inspired me.
So the addiction didn't happen then. It happened again another 8 years later. But that's where it started.
Choices I made at the time were not the best choices for myself.
I understand how a person can lose their mind in terms of life experiences. That's what it looks like, and I like that. But you know what? The journey to my success is never a straight line.
Yeah, people are on the net now, and that's where we'd like to catch them with such shows.
Tinso tethu tivikelwa ngekuthi kwekuqala kumcuka ukuthi sitipopole, sivakashele emtholampilo, siyithanze emtholampilo, upopola nje uye ungaguli ungumuntu kuyohlola ukuthi ingabe umtimba wakho usasebenza kahle yini. Lokungenani kabili ngeminyaka utipopola. Kuphindze futhi ushukumise umtimba. Ushukumisa umtimba nako kumcoka, siphindze futhi sibuke tifo lesitibalile. Once watholakala ukuthi sonato le tifo leti, bo HIV, bo hypertension, bo shukela, diabetes mellitus, nako lokho waba nako vakashela emtholampilo, landzelela kubodokotela ukuthi bathi delaphe kanjani, kutawusita ukuthi ugcine uvikele kutholakala ukuthi tinso takho setilimele. Nempilo ke kutiphatha nje nako kumcoka ngoba ukhanza ukuthi bantfu bayathanza ukuthi bese batifaka etitsakamiveni ekusebenziseni titsakamiva. Lokufaka ekhathi tshwala namagwayi. Tonke tinhlobo tetitsakamiva. So kumcoka ukuthi ungumuntu utipopole emtholampilo kuvikela tinso takho.
Lesi sikhathi lapho khona emaphoyisa agubha kuba khona kwawo even. Kulapho kukuthathwa khona sive ukuthi sike sihlale phansi sibuke bomcoka bemaphoyisa empilweni yebantfu. Siphindze sibuke tindlela letinsha tekuphepha kubo bonke bucala lobuveta sihloko. Sive sakangwane siyakhunjutwa ukuthi singawafaki emaphoyisa etinkulumeni tepolitiki ngoba liphoyisa alingeni futhi alingenelani nepolitiki. Emaphoyisa alwa nebucala netingoti temgwaco kuphela nje. Ingako emaphoyisa athi wonke umuntu eveni akahlale ngaphandle kwekunceneka ukuthi angahle ahlaselwe tilwane tasendle. Umuntu lohlala Eswatini akatiphilele atisebentele ngaphandle kwekwesaba kuhlaselwa kwemucwa nekucekelwa phansi kwempahla yakhe. Nawe wena lophathekile emaphoyisa athi digulele kahle uze uphile ngaphandle kwekuphatamiseka. Lokungenteka ngekuthi tidlova tingene tihlasele labo labakunakekelako kuleyo ndlu. Sive lesihlakaniphile nguleso lesiphakamisa kusebenta kwemaphoyisa nabo bonke labalwa nebucala. Ngale kwaloko timbungushe tiyawuwangenela emazinyane kungenamuntu ekhaya. Lo mlayeto niulethelwa ngemaphoyisa eMbube abambisene nomsakato wetithombe.
sasiphindze sinamukele ehlelweni lesikhathi sanyalo sita uxoxisana naLinda Master Dlamini lo inzathele temidlalo lapha ekhaya Eswatini TV. Khulumisa nje kabanti ekuqaleni indzaba yeNgwenyama Cup le qale kulemphela sonto Master ima last 16. Interestingly enough, 4 of those games, Master, are penalties. And, you know, what is interesting, now the Premier League teams are going guma penalty, and team like Premier League, gets to show everyone is hungry for that 1 million prize. Master, I think just your sentiments the weekend, of course, Green Mamba, you wouldn't think it's a Green Mamba, it's a penalty, and it's just knowing it's a Green Mamba, it's a high level football, Master. A couple of other games that were really interesting, but maybe as which game stood out for you as the best game, Glembelason?
Angubingelele Sifiso ngitithoba lokhulu mvusile nambukelo weSwatini TV. Sifiso weekend yeNgwenyama Cup ibe nama surprises ngicabanga ukuthi surprise lenkulu kakhulu ngile madlenyama zinondras kodwa kithi thina ama football analyst akabi surprise nangingakubekela kanjalo. Or you look at i-form yalo 2 teams, ubuke nelitafula labamekulu, forget about the history, ubuke lelitafula labamekulu, lomunye ulengetulu, lomunye ulengaphasi. So uyabona ukuthi vele le form kulama teams lang 2 they favor imadlenya. But having said that, Imanzi Wanderers
it's just last week.
Yes, ibiya kushaya Green Mamba and ngakubekela Sifiso ukuthi kule situation leyo Imanzi Wanderers bewu underdog Green Mamba kuma favorites kulukhuni ke kudlala ne underdog more especially players la motivated to do better. Ngicabanga ukuthi kulukhuni kakhulu ukudlala nawo yawina ke Imanzi Wanderers but itolo badlalile nemadlenya kwaba nge-0-0 ekhathi emidlalweni ba kuma penalties yafika khala pass nga 7-6 but kulenye igame before leyo kudlale iMbabane Highlanders neLouis 14 I think le game leyo ibe mnanzi iLouis 14 bongeke usho ukuthi i-team le struggle shako ka first division nabo balenga pass ka first division but ngendlela labadlale ngayo I think babe unfortunate ukuthi ba consider goal second half. In fact le babe sebakhomba ema signs ekugcinwa in experience because lamaphutha bebona lothi bebawenda but ngala iMbabane Highlanders I think coach mina ngikubuka kwami ngihleli lapha eTulo bengicabanga ukuthi maybe coach kunama changes la tawenda because Louis 14 be dominator le midfield kanti ngala iMbabane Highlanders kunesikhala lesikhulu bese mhlawumbe utawushiya only 3 wama players lengemuva ashiye Vusa ashiye Tamizulu ashiye ne left back then Tomo angene because vele i-midfield but angene la ku-midfield then bazame congesta le midfield ngaleyo ndlela leyo bebatawukhona ukuthi bachubeke bayidlale le bhola but ubese introducer Swakhile bazamile kuyidlala le bhola la bese liyafika ke ligoli layo iMbabane Highlanders kwayiwa kuma penalties. I think njoba ngisho ukuthi there's one thing bamvula bangayadi Sifiso, once ifatigue yakubamba ingcomva ayikubambisi iLouis 14 ithi tena seyifika kuma penalties already le team bese itsiniwe ngisho yini ke lokho ifocus bese uyayilahla na utsiniwe bathi tena ba penalties the first 2 penalties bawageja lekuqala Tulu kwa ishaya ipali yaphuma lesibili wayeseva asandane Khanyakezo yes wayeseva Khanyakezo I think logo yes Khanyakezo experience yakhe nawubuka kule second penalty ukhombisile but njengoba ngisho ukuthi bese ubona lothi le team le mentally abasekho bakhathele but nje overall ngihappy ngendlela lidlale ngayo iLouis 14 iMbabane Highlanders kumele ukuthi ishintshe Dumisani Makhaya kumele ukuthi ashintshe because now tawuva ema fans aqala kuba frustrated noma uthi ufuna kwenda i-change uve irresponse emafans bese uyamjikisa lo mdlali.
Sibone na last week lento leyo ukuthi iyendekile. In fact, from the starting lineup, the fans are still not happy. Ngecalisa Pupu ebenchini. I'm wondering, I didn't get to see this game with Khalil. And did that show? I mean, because the way that he plays, and I also saw at Nzabeni nje ukuthi nguye lo assistile the goal Pupu. He's such an instrumental player kule team layer, and it took them a long time. You know, they can make excuses because he's a new player, basafuna kunyusa le chemistry ngeke vela qale, but a player of that caliber, I mean, I would say starting him is always a good idea.
Yeah, okay, sometimes sifisa kulukhuni kuba ngicoach. Kulukhuni kuba coach ngihlale ngisho ukuthi ucoacha i-fan favorite. Uthola ukuthi leyo fan favorite akubambise ejimini.
Okay. Well, I think that the rumors at gym and this particular player, yes, agilaba khona nakasuka kumbabana Swallows.
Yeah, sengisho wona ukuthi ulukhuni ngekuba ngicoach because ufaka mentality, let's say angisho ukuthi Pupu
no uyaya kanjalo. Uyaya ejimini.
No, ungathi uyaya. Uya assume. Sengisho ukuthi angisho ukuthi wenda njalo, but ngifuna ukuthi Sifiso, if ungicoach unemdlali lo tabohle ngiyabekisa angakunika 100% ejimini, kunebadlali abatakunika 110%, always committed uthi wena kulabadlali even if ungade apply kakhulu ejimini utawungena nangabe ustar. Ngiyayilimata ke le team kuyibhidlite cards, uyabona?
Yeah, morally. I mean, in terms of immorality.
So ngicabanga ukuthi njengoba ngisho olukhuni kuba ngicoach.
Yeah, no, I can see le dilemma leyo ukuthi inkulu kangakanani, but yeah, Master sakhuluma yona indzaba ukuthi the results were quite, you know, beautiful. Ngoba lokho umcwa kakhulu, we want to see the goals, and sathenza yona indzaba ye-Highlanders nayo Louis 14. Louis 14 scored the first goal, and I believe it was during the first half.
Yeah, first half. Yeah.
1-0. So I think for them, babule fitness, like he's saying, and they are playing against a
Premier League side. Now buka Sifiso ukuthi iyona imbabana Highlanders the goal equalizer ilishaye ngetulu kwa 80 minutes. Vele kukuchila lokho ukuthi iLouis 14 bese idziniwe njoba ngishilo ngabeka nema effects ayo ifatigue, but ngicabanga nje overall Sifiso idlale kahle iLouis 14. Congratulations kuyo imbabana Highlanders bawungena ku last 8. Yes, kule big 3 yemanzini Wanderers, Mbabane Swallows, Mbabane Highlanders, only manzini Wanderers lengekho kunembabana Highlanders, kunembabana Swallows. Imbabana Swallows lewinile 1-0. Yes, lewinile 1-0 kuThabankulu Celtics ngemgcibelo. Ngicabanga nayo i tough game for yona imbabana Swallows eThabankulu. Thabankulu Celtics, I think iyaprove ukuthi why yaforsa iRoyal Leopard ukuthi igcine iye kuma penalties babakhokhe betile kumbabana Swallows balitholile ngangisho nje ema clear cut chances. Maybe ngayibala ukuthi iCeltics itholile lebe kumele ukuthi icore icore mbabana Swallows yes nayo mhlambe ishayile ipali kabili, but overall ngi-impressed ngayo iThabankulu Celtics ngendlela ledlale ngayo against Mbabane Swallows.
Yeah, Young Buffalo scoring 7 goals, Master. I think the most goals since the tournament started, completely hammering Ilovo. Is that a statement by Young Buffalo ekuthenini sisaqhubekela maybe kuma last 8 that we are a team to be reckoned with? Sisabeni.
Yes, so i-results lebe ngaka, in fact lamagoli bengaka wagazi kusato bangaka. Naloku ukuthi iLovo since afikile Botsotso Khoza, the style of play naloku motivate abadlali ngicabanga ukuthi kushintshile kancane but ke Sifiso ngifuna kushona kulokunye iYoung Buffaloes once yathola i-team lezama kudlala ingakutholi kwaba 100% because bona power play.
Yes.
Basafarisha.
Okay.
Don't try to play a possession football against Young Buffaloes if awukho perfect.
Okay.
They will punish you.
Right.
Ikwentile iLovo yathola 7 amagoli. I think ngiko lokho. Saviola, my favorite player ku league Saviola, thole hat-trick. I think kule game lena udlale kahle kakhulu, but nje overall Young Buffaloes are the biggest winners kule weekend lena.
Yeah, certainly. But I also do want us to talk about in Nsingizini Hotspurs, Master. We've been talking about how they are motivated as a team just based on what is happening around the team, even outside of Kujima Wabokpel. Yes, that is a big factor. They are motivated, the unveiling of the new jersey, the sponsorship, the new football pitch. They even have, they have a great media presence across all social media platforms. You can tell that this is a team, let's serious kangakanani, nasibuga organization yabo. And it's starting to be portrayed in our football pitch. We are seeing how they are playing. They are looking like motivated players, winning 2-0 this weekend against Denver Sundowns. Yeah,
I think it's just so now buga Nsingizini Hotspurs sebana amasizini lang 2 baka Premier League, but now buga indlela labadlala ngayo uma knockouts iyehluka 2 times bawina yona iMomo Cup nakunyalo baku last 8 yengunyama Cup bashaya iDenver Sundowns 2-0. I think ema players la njengabo Thubelihle week in week out ba prove ukuthi why ba record as one of ema future stars ebhola yakangwane. Ukorile kule game ayitola against Denver Sundowns, even the captain Pius ukorile. I think njoba usho I combination ibhola sifisa ngihlale ngisho ukuthi ibhola ifana ne event. I-event akusiko mhlambe lokubona lama artists asaperforma lapha stage.
The planning.
The planning, konke organizer, everything. Ibhola ifana naloko. If ndawukhona ukuthi nijime kahle, if ndawukhona ukuthi badlali ungake uve ma headlines ukuthi badlali bayakhala ukuthi kunjanjanyana. Number 3, the fans, if utawukhona ukuthi uwin the community la uchamuka khona, because kule game eyitolo nje sibonile ukuthi majority of ema fans labeka khona e-stadium bekungiwo Nsingizini Hotspurs. I think logo bese sekuya le energy lefakwa ngilama forces la angaphandle kwalapha egroundini angena la kulabadlali, then the players will perform because they understand ukuthi everyone is behind bona, including even nalaba parts of the team.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the Ingonyama Cup weekend. Let's see, the biggest football tournament in the land, still showing to be the biggest tournament, even with the results. Let's of course, the biggest story there, Madlenya, Koka, Iwandra, Sektanini, you winning 75,000. Master, maybe what's next? What's next to go Ingonyama Cup before we move on to the Africa Cup of Nations?
So ngicabanga ukuthi ukhuluma ukuthi what's next ukuva ukuthi yona Ingonyama Cup kumele ukuthi i-draw yendiwe kuleli viki yayo i-last 8. I-Green Mamba njoba usho ukuthi ama-defending champions awinile kuma-penalties ku-Sibet, correct qala i-Sibet yabuya yona i-Green Mamba equalizer igciniye kuma-penalties, then ema-teams asang-8 only one yaka-first division lokuyi-Pick Rangers, I think nabo
they won 2-0 against
Milling. I-team nayo le dlala ka first division, so ngicabanga ukuthi kule knockout kule Ingonyama Cup cishe siyakubona na kule sikhathi ukubona ema surprises more especially ama teams la ku lower division, because i-knockout lefaka ama teams akuma regions a first division na Premier League uyayogatha ukuthi lokungenani quarter final kube ne team letaba ya ka first division noma ka Super League. So nyalo sikatsile, and na ubuka nalamagoli lashayiwe ngetulu kwa 17 nomagoli lashayiwe kule weekend le ukutshela something emagoli ashaywa, so sitawubona ukuthi ku-last 8 kudonsana bani if the big guns angekadonsane odwa.
And it's not an unfair question to ask a football pundit and analyst like you, Master. Right now, I want you to predict the winner of it all. Nyalo, Slokusesela, the last 8, before the draw has been made.
Okay.
Top 2, just one that you feel like, yes, nakendeka konke ngalendlela obuke ngayo obukele ngayibhola. These are the probable winners.
Okay, so ngicela ku now to one.
Just give me one team, Master.
It's like
it's fine, utawuba wrong vele.
No. Angifuni ukukhulumisa kwe-fan.
Okay.
Yes. ngifuna ukukhuluma i-reality.
Yeah.
I-reality ithi nyalo kunema teams kune Young Buffaloes siyibonile the biggest winners
Yes.
le weekend. Kunema defending champions iGreen
Green
Mamba. KuneNsingizini Hotspurs ngeke uzuyikhohle.
Those are my favorites.
Kunembabane Highlanders,
Yeah.
kunembabane Swallows. Still ngicabanga ukuthi the teams lakhona inyalo nawabuka cishe onke madlenya ama surprise package.
But you can give me a bold answer.
I think now buka even ama teams la njengabo madlenya angeke uze because knockout le, but the team le toba ngicabanga ukuthi lene squad le school because kudlala ama league games kudlala knockout,
so it's
league games knockout, league games knockout. I personally think Green Mamba they're not having the best run at the moment. Now buka babuya ko loser ku league ba draw kungwenyama cup ba penalties. So if batawukhona ukuthi babuye kahle batayiwina
good chance. Yeah. So Green Mamba for you.
Yeah,
okay, sure. Yeah. Nsingizini Hotspurs for me, Green Mamba for you. Stop in the stock saqhubeka. Bongo saqhubeka like Africa Cup of Nations. Of course, South Africa having a big break this weekend, winning that 4-0 against Namibia. Master, I think that's the biggest topic, at least because they are right next to us. But you know, a lot of other games, the draws that we're seeing, Zambia and Tanzania, Morocco and Congo, Labatroebo 1-1 apiece. The stories we're hearing, go Egypt, good Salah, Utsufunagio rehabilitated England, yeah. But fans are saying Yaskapata ngoba Mbona adlala on the next Liverpool game. He just wants to leave. What is the sentiment that you have? Nasabwana results lapha edit from the biggest game this weekend.
The biggest game kule weekend lena I think South Africa nayo in Namibia ngekuwina 4-0. I think incumbi yabamvu ngaphasi kwa group E bebangacabanga ukuthi yona iNingizimu Afrika ngawina ngamagoli angaka, but iwinile 4-0. I think le game lena Thembazwane Mshishi uthole man of the match. Ngiyathi ukuthi bengibuta labanye because ngiyakhumbula nakafika Hugo Bruce ku Bafana wakambitanga Thembazwane for almost a year. Wathi sokhulile, but nakunyalo udlale very good game against yona in Namibia. It was like isibukele khosafa because mavela walaqhamuka khona la esifundzeni lesingentasini elivekati le-Africa. But iZambia njengoba usho idrawile nayo iTanzania 1-1 nawo lawo mave lesijwayele kudlala nawo ngala kukhosafa especially Zambia. Morocco versus DR Congo. Ikore kuqala Morocco kule game lena Sifiso ngaHakimi ku 6 minutes. I think second half iCongo ibe seseyabuya yalithola leli goal le-equalizer 67 minutes. And the way labadlale ngayo bakhombisile ukuthi abayisabi yona iMorocco because Morocco iranka number 1 la Africa. At the moment Congo iranka number 10, so idlalile. Tunisia neMali tidrawile nga 1-1. Mauritania Angola iwinile ku Mauritania 3-2. Ngicabanga ukuthi nayo leyo result leyo ngiyo lenhle. But na Saturday sabona lamanye ama games achubeka njoba usho Cape Verde versus Mozambique akhumbula ukuthi igame yabo yekuqala badrone Egypt, but babuya bakhala phansi Cape Verde. iCape Verde sifiso ngibhalile kulenye igroup yaka social media nginesibibithwane nale team le.
Why?
We played better
against
bona, unfortunately sangayithola result. Lokusho ukuthi sine if besikhocheke kahle
we can compete at a high level.
Thina sinayo mani chance. If Cape Verde bashabo Mozambique 3-0.
And as you're saying that, Master, I'm noticing what's Cape Verde, which is you know, the leaders of Group B. They are currently one of 2 teams in the tournament. It's about winning Onkema game up. So it's them and Senegal. They've played 2 and they've won 2. And it's looking really good for them so far. Kule tournament. In Morocco, which you said is currently ranked the best team, has only won 1 game.
Cape Verde ngetulu kwabo Ghana. Ghana, Egypt. I think lokho kusho lokukhulu kakhulu. And Burkina Faso ingetulu ne-Algeria, former champions. Mali, South Africa nabo bangetulu kweTunisia. So I think le tournament le iprove njengoba ngisho ukuthi le wena Sifiso ngenteka iwine i-underdog.
which is for you, is Cape Verde an underdog? Would you say Cape Verde underdog?
Cape Verde underdog kule tournament le.
Okay, even though sayicale kanjena, yes, kule tournament, but the way they've started, sebati catapult, sebati beka as a team that you should fear.
But ngeke baze bayiwin.
Okay, but it win underdog, but not Cape Verde.
Ungenteke win underdog.
Master, I'm looking at the time.
If not Senegal.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Now that's fair. So those top two teams to win it for you. English Premier League quickly, Master. What a weekend yet again. Again, still proving to be the best football league in the country. So many goals. Master. Arsenal scoring 5 goals. Liverpool scoring 4 goals. Brentford scoring 3 goals. And as they score the 3 goals, the team they are playing against, Nottingham Forest, scores 2 goals. You can just see, this is a league that you want to watch. I'm calling my friends Poseto in Manzintolo who say, ngisabukeli iBournemouth lana. Ngithi dlala nani uyangitshela ngithi yabona. Ungabuka ama team lamancane uthi that's English Premier League football.
I think especially now ubuka from ukhuluma ngabo Brentford in Nottingham Forest, Brentford Ivan Toney is back. Wathola igoli leqala after 8 months abuyile bama ku suspension. Uwinile yona Brentford 3-2 Nottingham Forest. Arsenal Chesampama against Crystal Palace. I think kule game lane Arsenal kunema scorers lahlukene lang 3 Gabriel the defender ukorile, Gabriel Martinelli ukorile 2, Trossard ukorile, but lapha itulu Liverpool liwinile 4-0 yona ihle lapha etulu ina 48 ma point yes Manchester City in a game in hand, but nayiwina yona Manchester City ishosi yak 46 is still Liverpool iyalida nga 2 points. Arsenal number 3 ibambene na Aston Villa 43. I think njoba ngasho sifiso ngathi teams labata compete for yona league, just that nyalo sifiso ubuyile Kevin De Bruyne. Manchester City sekuyinika nayo ukuthi ingene equation kanzi. Good decision mina bengibala Liverpool Arsenal labata compete. But lokho sekubuye Kevin De Bruyne 3 teams that are compete la yona league.
And Arsenal ikile yabane kuveta ema signs ekhathatha kakhulu ema fans, and I think now kuleyo prediction yakho bosoqala ngabada.
No, so ngicabanga ukuthi ku understand the English Premier League, more especially Arsenal. Most of the time vele December, because they are playing basebenzisa squad lesincane. Wasebenzisa squad lesincane December January utostrugglisha. Then kwendeke kahle lokuthi kufike early for Arsenal, because last season kwafika nga-April lapho khona bawadzinga kakhulu lama point. So nyalo kuthi tena kufika I think ngalesikhathi kumele ngalo April batabe sebakhonile ukuthi ba pick up yona iform.
This is when I give you flowers as a pundit and an analyst, Master, because Arsenal fans, even our colleagues, they had lost hope. You could tell from the way that they were speaking and their body language after Emma game. You would tell they're not as hopeful, but when you still maintained your outlook, Yako, and that is where we get to appreciate bringing you guys here. Barcelona winning big this weekend, maybe this last minute that we have, an important win for Barcelona.
A very, very important win for Barcelona. I think Barcelona is in a challenge this season. Kumele iwine ama-games abo ne-Madrid, because Girona
top.
Week in week out bawashaya amagoli. Nabala bahleli khona etulo esiqongweni bana 52 emapoint. Real Madrid ina 51, Barcelona ina 44. So i-pressure vele ikhona ngala Barcelona ukuthi bachubeke bawine ama-games abo, but nje Girona iwinile against Sevilla. I'm happy for this team because
have won 16 games like Madrid. Barcelona's only won 13 games, and again to your sentiment, Barcelona, every game now is going to be an important game to win. Thank you so much for your time, Master. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. Let's have a great start to our week. It's a week of setting, it's the day of setting the whole tone for the week. Thank you.